Have you ever wondered why some men rise quietly, almost invisibly, while others burn themselves out chasing validation that never arrives? The truth is this: power does not belong to the man who grasps frantically at it, but to the one who can wait, calm, immovable, disciplined. To play the long game is to live beyond impulse, beyond the flicker of rage, beyond the intoxication of applause. It is to recognize that true strength is forged not in the moments of reaction, but in the silent furnace of patience. A Stoic knows this. He does not leap at every provocation, nor drown himself in every fleeting desire. He has seen how the world ensnares men with promises of instant victory, of immediate pleasure, of conquest without cost. But he also knows that the same world devours such men just as quickly. The impatient fall because they mistake urgency for destiny. They demand outcomes the universe is not yet willing to deliver, and in that demand, they shatter themselves. Patience, then, is not weakness. It is a weapon sharper than any sword. Imagine the general who watches his enemy flail with reckless aggression. He does not move. He waits until the battlefield itself bends to his timing. Only then does he strike, not in frenzy, but in inevitability. You must see your life the same way. Each insult hurled at you, each temptation placed in your path, each delay in your ambition is not a defeat. It is an invitation to mastery. To hold steady is to hold dominion. But what keeps a man from surrendering to impatience? It is the discipline of the inner world. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning that the day would bring troublemakers, liars, the arrogant, the envious. He prepared not to be surprised, not to be shaken. Seneca wrote that anger is temporary madness, a fire that consumes reason and leaves only ruin. Epictetus warned that the greatest chains are invisible, the chains of wanting everything immediately. These ancient voices all converge on one truth: the man who cannot wait is the man who cannot rule even himself. You have felt this: the sting of rejection, the silence of someone you wanted a response from, the endless scrolling of others' lives moving faster than yours. Do you not feel the urge to force an outcome, to demand recognition, to strike now so you are not forgotten? That urge is the very prison the Stoics sought to escape. Because once you act on impulse, you are no longer a master of yourself. You are being commanded by your wounds, by your fears, by your shadows. The modern world preys on this shadow. Every notification screams for your attention. Every advertisement whispers that waiting is failure. Every false mentor tells you to grind harder, faster, louder. But pause and ask yourself, who benefits when you cannot wait? It is not you. It is the world that feeds on your exhaustion. To play the long game is to refuse this trap. It is to reclaim the throne of your own mind. And yet, patience is not passivity. To wait with dignity is not to sit idle, but to build silently, relentlessly, behind closed doors. The oak tree does not rise in a day, yet every unseen moment underground is a preparation for unshakable height. The man who cultivates patience is not empty. He is gathering force, like an archer who draws the bowstring and waits, steady, unhurried, knowing that release is only powerful when held long enough. In Jungian terms, this is shadow integration. Impatience is the shadow's demand for immediate gratification, for the relief of proving worth now. But when you integrate that shadow, you do not kill the desire, you transmute it. You transform the restless hunger into disciplined waiting. You make peace with delay, and in that peace, your power grows. The unconscious wounds that once pushed you toward frantic grasping become the very soil in which your resilience takes root. Do you see now why so many men fail? They rush, they chase, they reveal their hand too soon. They try to prove they are strong before they have built strength. The Stoic, however, endures. He lets the world underestimate him because he understands that underestimation is camouflage. He allows silence to work in his favor because silence is the language of patience. He knows that the long game is won not by those who speak the loudest, but by those who outlast every storm. So ask yourself, in your own life, where are you rushing? Where are you so afraid of waiting that you betray your own strength? What would happen if you stopped reaching outward for validation and began building inward for eternity? To master patience is not simply to endure time, it is to command it. When you wait without breaking, you bend the clock itself. You transform every delay into a training ground, every rejection into a sharpening stone, every silence into a fortress. The world belongs to the man who can wait, not because time favors him, but because time cannot break him. And when the moment finally arrives, when the arrow is released, when the storm clears, when the silence breaks, it will not be luck. It will be inevitability. Patience, when lived as a discipline, becomes a force that reshapes the very texture of a man's being. It is not simply a pause between desire and fulfillment, but a crucible in which character is tested, burned, and remade. To those without discipline, waiting feels like weakness, like being left behind. But for the Stoic, waiting is training. Every delay is a teacher, every silence a mirror, every setback an invitation to transcend impulse. Think of the river. It does not rush headlong at every rock it meets. It does not splinter itself against obstacles. It bends, it curves, it flows with patience, knowing that persistence will carve even stone. The river is not frantic, it is eternal. In this way, the man who waits becomes like water, unstoppable, not because he resists everything, but because he learns to flow through time itself without breaking his form. Jung would say that impatience is often the ego's defense against the unconscious. It is the frightened child within demanding proof of worth. The moment you feel you must act now or lose everything, it is not reality that commands you. It is your shadow, that buried fear that you are not enough unless she replies, unless they notice, unless success arrives before midnight. But when you sit with that fear, when you refuse to obey its commands, something alchemical happens. You stop being a prisoner of your wounds and begin the process of individuation, becoming whole, steady, unshakable. Notice how easily the world reads the impatient man. His hands twitch, his voice strains, his eyes betray the desperation for results. Others sense it and use it. They bait him, provoke him, delay him, knowing that he will unravel under the weight of his own need. But the man who waits, he cannot be manipulated. He offers no reaction when insulted, no collapse when denied, no rush when challenged. His silence unnerves the room. His stillness becomes dominance. He plays the long game, and in that long game, he becomes untouchable. Yet, waiting is not simply about enduring time. It is about what you build in the waiting. The Stoic did not advocate a life of passive suffering, but one of active cultivation. While others screamed for recognition, Marcus Aurelius was writing meditations in the solitude of his tent. While the impatient argued and plotted, Seneca was distilling wisdom into words that still outlast empires. Epictetus, once a slave, built an empire of thought not through rage, but through patience and discipline of mind. Their long game was not glamorous, but it was eternal. So ask yourself, what do you build while you wait? Do you fill the silence with bitterness, or do you forge strength in the hidden hours? The impatient man waits for the world to hand him something. The patient man builds something so strong that when the world finally looks, it is undeniable. That is why your silence must not be empty. It must be fertile. Every unseen day is a day of gathering power, honing skill, deepening resilience. When you wait like this, you are not standing still. You are rising slowly, invisibly, like a mountain emerging from mist. The long game requires a relationship with time that few dare to cultivate. Most fear time as an enemy. They see every delay as loss, every silence as rejection. But the Stoic transforms time into an ally. He knows that the years are not against him, but for him. Every day of restraint sharpens his will. Every year of patience multiplies his strength. By the time others have exhausted themselves with haste, he stands unshaken, his foundation deep and unmovable. You may feel the urge to demand answers, to force outcomes, to make her see you, to make them recognize you. But pause. Do you not see the trap? Every time you rush, you reveal your hunger. And hunger makes you predictable. Predictability makes you weak. But if you can hold back, if you can smile in silence, walk with calm, wait without collapse, you become a mystery. And mystery is power. The long game is not about hiding forever. It is about revealing yourself only when the moment is undeniable, when your presence cannot be ignored, when your emergence feels like destiny rather than demand. In a world addicted to speed, the one who waits with grace appears almost supernatural. He is not dragged by the current. He is not enslaved by urgency. He is the rock in the river, shaping the flow itself. When others burn out, he remains. When others collapse, he rises. When others beg for recognition, he commands it without a word. This is the paradox of patience. By appearing to do less, you achieve infinitely more. Remember this: impatience is the language of fear. Patience is the language of mastery. And mastery, always, belongs to the one who plays the long game. Patience refines the soul into something nearly impervious. The longer a man learns to endure without bending, the less the world's chaos can penetrate him. This is not a hollow stoicism that numbs feeling. It is an active mastery over reaction, the shaping of one's inner architecture until storms outside no longer find cracks to seep through. Think of the ancient builders who laid stones upon stones, not for speed, but for permanence. A fortress rushed into existence, collapses under its own weight. A fortress built patiently stands for centuries. So, it is with you. The longer you cultivate restraint, the more eternal your presence becomes. In the psychological language of Jung, patience is a confrontation with time itself. The ego resists waiting because it fears insignificance. It panics when the universe does not bow instantly to its desires. But the deeper self, the self that resides beyond the masks, understands that significance cannot be hurried. Individuation, the long journey toward becoming whole, cannot be rushed. The alchemy of the soul requires waiting, for the unconscious will not yield its gold until it has tested your endurance. What you call delay, it calls transformation. What you call wasted years, it calls foundation. The Stoic recognized the same law. Seneca wrote that he was never less alone than when alone, never less idle than when at leisure. The waiting, for him, was not empty. It was filled with contemplation, with practice, with sharpening of mind. Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire, still recorded reminders to himself that everything comes at its appointed time. that urgency was a distortion, that nature itself is patient. Even Epictetus, once bound in chains, found his freedom, not by demanding escape, but by commanding his own inner world until no delay could enslave him. Their patience was not passive, it was a sovereign act. Look closely at the patterns of your own life. How many choices have been made in haste, not because the moment demanded them, but because your fear could not bear the silence? You rushed to prove your worth, to secure affection, to silence the unease of waiting. And yet, each time, the very haste betrayed you. For when you reveal your hunger too quickly, you give your power away. You show that you are governed not by discipline, but by compulsion. The world reads this instantly, and those who sense it will exploit it. Consider the opposite: a man who moves slowly, who speaks sparingly, who does not rush to answer or prove himself. His pauses are not emptiness, but gravity. He does not leap at every chance offered, for he knows his value is not determined by scarcity. Others feel this. They lean in, they wonder. They cannot control what they cannot predict. And so his patience becomes a veil, and that veil becomes power. This is the essence of playing the long game, letting silence serve you, letting time become your ally. The impatient mind demands immediate victory. The patient one collects victories invisible at first, but indestructible later. Every insult endured without collapse strengthens your armor. Every rejection accepted without rage teaches you the truth of your resilience. Every delay borne without despair adds a stone to your fortress. You may not see it daily, but others will one day stand in awe of what your patience has built. Think of your own shadow, the restless part that whispers, "Do something now, or you will lose everything." That voice is not truth, it is fear. It is the frightened child, still bargaining for love, for safety, for recognition. When you resist its command, when you wait calmly instead of obeying its panic, you prove to yourself that you are no longer enslaved by that shadow. The chains break, and the power that was once lost in desperation now flows back into your hands. The long game is not about delaying forever. It is about waiting until the moment is ripe. The archer does not release the arrow too soon, or it will fall short. The sculptor does not strike the marble without precision, or the whole form is ruined. Timing is everything. But timing cannot be controlled by force. It can only be discerned by patience. The one who waits with clear eyes sees the opening others miss. The one who does not hurry becomes the one who never arrives late. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if you began to play the long game? If you allowed silence to mature you, if you treated rejection as refinement, if you trusted that what is meant to unfold will do so in its appointed hour, can you imagine how much calmer you would be, how much stronger, how much less fragile? For the man who waits is no longer tossed about by whims or insults. He is anchored, he is steady, and eventually he is inevitable. Patience does not strip away desire, it transforms it. The impatient man burns with restless hunger, but the patient man carries desire as a silent flame, steady and controlled. His longing is no less intense, but it is disciplined, sublimated, woven into the fabric of his becoming. This is what the ancients meant when they spoke of ruling oneself. To govern one's impulses is to wield the only crown that cannot be stolen. And here lies the paradox. By holding back, you do not lose power, you generate it. The man who does not reveal his desperation becomes magnetic. The woman who does not beg for attention becomes unforgettable. The one who can endure silence without collapsing creates a presence more commanding than words could ever achieve. When you withhold reaction, the world leans in because mystery breeds gravity. Every silence becomes a signal of depth. Every pause becomes a weight others must measure themselves against. Jung understood that to wait is to allow the unconscious to do its secret work. The unseen currents of psyche need time to surface, and when they are forced, they distort. Have you noticed how a rushed decision often feels hollow? How something chosen too soon rarely satisfies? This is because the unconscious was never given time to align. But when you wait, when you let the inner forces mature, the choice feels inevitable, right? Whole. This is the alchemy of patience. It allows destiny to ripen before it is touched. The Stoics lived in a world of war, plague, betrayal. Yet their counsel was not to panic, not to force, not to grasp. They knew that life is ruled by forces beyond your control. To rush against them is to drown. To flow with them is to reign. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "No man can hinder you from living according to nature." Nature itself moves with rhythm, not haste. The sun does not rise a second earlier because you demanded it. The seed does not flower because you shouted. And so, a man aligned with nature accepts that all unfolds in its time. To resist this truth is madness. To embrace it is freedom. Think now of the battles you have fought against silence, the unanswered message, the door that did not open, the opportunity that did not arrive. Each time, the shadow within whispered that you were unworthy, that you must prove, that you must chase. But look deeper. Was it truly rejection, or was it simply not yet your hour? The impatient child says, "I am forgotten." The disciplined man says, "I am being prepared." The difference is everything. For one crumbles under the weight of time, the other becomes unbreakable within it. When others falter, the patient rise. When others scream, the patient listen. When others demand, the patient build. And when the world finally sees what they have become, it is too late for rivals to catch up. That is the hidden power of the long game. While others waste themselves on speed, you accumulate endurance, mastery, inevitability. This is how empires are built, how legacies are written, how greatness survives beyond the grave. You may feel the ache of waiting even now, the burning sense that time is slipping, that you must act or vanish. But pause and look closer. Is it truly time slipping away, or is it your fear screaming at you? You are not late. You are ripening. What appears to be delay may be the very shaping of your destiny. The oak is slow, but it dwarfs every weed. The mountain rises invisibly, but it becomes the horizon itself. Patience is not the death of power. It is its gestation. To endure without breaking, to wait without begging, to build without applause. This is the hidden crown. And when the moment comes, you will not need to announce yourself. The world will feel your presence as something that was inevitable all along. Patience, when carried to its deepest form, becomes indistinguishable from power itself. It is not merely a refusal to act. It is an active shaping of reality through restraint. To wait when others collapse under pressure is to declare, "Time cannot break me." This declaration resounds louder than any boast, for silence imbued with strength is more terrifying than noise. Consider the warrior who does not strike first. His stillness unsettles his opponent. The longer he waits, the more his opponent's fear grows, because what cannot be predicted cannot be controlled. This is the hidden truth. Patience unsettles those who thrive on reaction. When you deny them the drama of your collapse, you rob them of control. You hold the battlefield, not through aggression, but through immovability. Jung spoke of the individuation process as a long unfolding, not an event to be rushed. The soul must integrate its opposites, its shadows, its wounds, before it can achieve wholeness. To force this is to create a mask, a false self, a brittle armor that will one day shatter. But to allow time to work upon you, to endure the long silence of growth, that is how the true self emerges. The Stoics understood this intuitively. The universe is a teacher, and delay is part of its curriculum. Those who run from it never graduate. Reflect for a moment on the nature of desire. Most men chase outcomes like hunters chase shadows, always grasping, never grasping enough. They believe that power is in the taking, but power is not taken. It is revealed. And it is revealed only to those who can resist the urge to snatch at every passing chance, to want something deeply and yet not collapse under its delay. That is the essence of sovereignty. For then you no longer serve desire. Desire serves you. In relationships, this truth is even sharper. The impatient man suffocates, demands, floods the space with need. He reveals his hunger, and hunger repels. But the man who waits calmly, who is not rattled by absence, who allows silence to stretch without begging, that man is felt differently. He does not pursue recognition, he embodies it. His presence says, without words, I do not chase, because I already know my worth. And such a presence draws others without effort, because it radiates abundance instead of lack. The long game is the opposite of desperation. It is built on the certainty that what is yours cannot be stolen, and what is not yours will destroy you if forced. The Stoic does not rush to possess, because he knows possession is an illusion. He builds instead within himself, patiently, relentlessly, until even loss cannot strip him. That is why he is feared, why he is admired, why he endures. Ask yourself, what would it mean for you to embody this patience in every realm? In your ambitions, what if rejection was no longer humiliation, but seasoning? In your relationships, what if silence was not a wound, but a test you always pass? In your self-mastery, what if delay was not an enemy, but an ally? Can you feel how differently you would move through the world? Not like a beggar chasing scraps of attention, but like a sovereign who knows his throne cannot be touched. To play the long game is to embrace a kind of timelessness. While others race, you walk. While others panic, you breathe. While others collapse, you endure. And in the end, endurance is victory. For time does not destroy the patient, it destroys only those who cannot bear it. And when the moment arrives, when your preparation meets its appointed hour, you will not need to shout. The weight of your presence will speak for you. The years of waiting, the storms endured, the silence mastered, all of it will converge into a single truth. You were never late. You were inevitable. Patience is not resignation. It is the deliberate act of standing still while others collapse under the weight of their own urgency. To embody patience is to wield a kind of silent violence against the chaos of the world. It cannot pierce you. It cannot provoke you. It cannot rush you into breaking yourself. And in this stillness, a man becomes something larger than himself. He becomes a force. Think of the hunter who knows that prey must wander into his path. The fool chases wildly, exhausting himself, scattering the field, and returning empty-handed. The master hunter waits, silent, invisible, certain. His strength is not in frantic pursuit, but in the inevitability of his strike. Life itself mirrors this truth. The opportunities you demand in haste flee from you. The ones you prepare for in patience arrive as if by destiny. This is not mysticism, it is law. Jung's vision of the self was never about quick ascension, but slow integration. To play the long game in your psyche means to sit with contradictions, to endure the discomfort of not yet knowing, to allow the unconscious to speak in its own language of dreams and symbols. If you rush to interpret, you distort. If you wait, you receive truth unbroken. The Stoics lived this same wisdom: endurance over panic, reflection over haste, silence over noise. The world, however, despises patience. It thrives on immediacy, on keeping you restless, on making you feel late, unworthy, forgotten. Every flashing screen, every demand for instant reply, every promise of quick success is a dagger aimed at your discipline. Do you not see how the machinery of society is built to keep you enslaved to impatience? Because the impatient man spends, chases, begs, collapses. The patient man cannot be controlled, for his worth does not hang on the clock. In relationships, the difference is night and day. The impatient man is transparent. His need bleeds through every gesture. He cannot endure absence, so he floods with presence. He cannot hold silence, so he fills it with words. But the patient man, the one who can endure days, weeks, months without breaking, his presence expands in the absence. The more he does not beg, the more he is remembered. The more he does not chase, the more he is sought. His patience is not passive, it is magnetic. Imagine what it would mean if you could stand so steady that time itself bends toward you. No longer shaken by rejection, no longer shattered by delay, no longer defined by immediacy. Instead, you gather your strength in secret. You sharpen your skills unseen. You rise slowly, invisibly, until the day comes when your presence cannot be ignored. Then, the world will call it sudden, but you will know it was inevitable. This is the final essence of the long game: to turn every silence into soil, every delay into training, every rejection into fuel. To wait not as a victim, but as a sovereign, knowing that what is yours will come when you are truly ready. And when it does, you will not need to fight for it, because it will not be fragile. It will be forged in the fire of your endurance.